Welcome into another edition of SEC Football and Beyond. Neil McCready, Chris Landry with you here today. It is Friday, February the 5th. Hope you have all had a great week. Hopefully you are all anticipating a great weekend. It's kind of cold out there. Next weekend is going to be even colder pretty much throughout the country. But it's Super Bowl 55 in Tampa on Sunday night. That's the final football game of this football season, one that, Chris, before the season began, there was a lot of talk about whether we'd make it to the finish line, whether we'd have a season, whether it was possible to play a season. We crowned Alabama the college football champion a few weeks ago, and we're either going to crown the Kansas City Chiefs or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the NFL champion on Sunday night. So we made it. How about that?
Yeah, no, it's good. And now the basketball folks are trying to figure out how they're going to do all this, and we move on. And I know in my world, how we're going to deal with spring practice and all that. But yes, the unknown. And I'm going to admit, I didn't have a clue what the heck. I was just, everybody kept asking me, like, the football guy's going to know whether we're going to play football due to a pandemic or not. I just am glad we've gotten to this point. I'm glad that they are taking like ridiculous level security measures at the Super Bowl. They tell me at the security check, when you go in, you know how you put stuff on a tray, like keys, wallet, whatever it is you got to do. They are literally taking a paper plate. So, Neil, you come in and you put, I guess it's 2-ply, so, because Neil's wallet would just break it,
Yes.
Put your paper or plastic, I really don't know. I didn't get a follow-up there. I'm not the reporter, Neil is. So, if you put the stuff on the paper plate, and then they throw a paper plate away. So they're like going to have a gazillion paper plates or plastic plates or whatever. That's how the level of security of they want to make sure that, it's like, I don't know why. Just somebody volunteered that to me yesterday. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And I'm just glad we're here. I hope we have a good game. I know we're going to get into it a little bit.
Yep.
I wonder if there'll be if people are going to have as many Super Bowl parties or whatnot. You hear all the ridiculous things about how many pizzas are great for the economy, great pizzas. And I guess what it is, pizzas and chicken wings are the two biggest things or something like that. Anyway, hope that you all enjoy it. Be a while. We've, we should be glad we got it in. At least I am. And I'm hoping for a good game. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit more. But
I'm going to spice some chicken wings. I'm going to go to my there's a butcher here in town. It runs a meat market, LB's Meat Market. My buddy Greg Jones is there. I'm going to get an assortment of sausages, make a nice sausage and cheese tray, get some chicken wings, probably going to get a few beers. It'll be a good day.
Yeah, it's amazing how it has become the holiday. I can remember Super Bowls being – I'm old enough to remember it being like early in the day, like a 1 p.m. Well, I grew up in a central time zone. So like a 1 p.m. start. And then it went to like a 3. Like the 3 p.m. For the Eastern time folks, your games are always 1 p.m. and 4:15. I remember the Super Bowls being back in the day, early in the day. So it was like still daylight and the game was over. And then they moved it to the 3-ish central and now they've moved it to they figured out they even do the conference championships now to where it's in the prime time or it bleeds in the prime time, but it's early enough for all the East Coast folks to enjoy it. Guess it's, it's
6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central.
It's 3:30-ish for the West Coast folks. So it's kind of the ideal time. And it is a holiday. It's a festival holiday, and they have done it right. The league has made this something that is I watched something last night, Neil. I don't know if you saw this. If you didn't, you might be interested in maybe folks out there. The 30 for 30 series had an Al Davis and Pete Rozelle thing last night, and it'll be replayed 82 times. So if you missed it, no problem. You'll watch it. And Pete Rozelle was kind of one of the great visionaries PR wise. They gradually started to make this Super Bowl thing it's a celebration. There's some people that think they should make Super Bowl Monday a holiday. Like, Neil's heading that group.
It should be a federal holiday.
So yeah,
it should be a national day of recovery.
Yeah. I can remember, so when I was at LSU and LSU staff, we'd usually have a recruiting weekend. Remember, folks, the Super Bowl was a little bit earlier. So now signing day, the second signing day was done, and now the Super Bowl's after. But it used to be that the last recruiting weekend was Super Bowl weekend before, and then the signing day was like in the first Wednesday in February, right? Well, the Super Bowl used to always be in January. And so I can remember it used to be we'd have a recruiting weekend, but it was a different recruiting weekend because most everybody is out the door, the recruits and the families by noon, so that if they were on a plane or driving, they can get back and watch the Super Bowl. And I can remember that. And it was what I remember mostly is the year that I literally the Monday after was my flight to Cleveland to interview with Belichick for a job with the Browns. And I remember that being Super Bowl. And that was a Super Bowl that I watched and was very interested, but I was most distracted by because I was kind of preparing for the interview. That's the one that I remember that's a little bit more unique for me. But every Super Bowl has its own, I can remember, Neil, I grew up in Louisiana. You did. You remember the Super Bowls. They had more Super Bowls in Tulane Stadium than they ever should have been because, folks, people don't know that the Superdome was like 6 years longer to build than anyone ever thought. And like 14 times the budget because it's built on swamp ground and they had pylons that went down. But as they did it, had to go deeper and deeper. So that's why we had so many Super Bowls in Tulane Stadium. It wasn't supposed to be that way. And back in the day, the Super Bowl rotated between Los Angeles Coliseum, the Orange Bowl, and then they squeezed a couple others. There was actually a Super Bowl in Rice Stadium in Houston. Yes, Rice Stadium in Houston, where the seats were concrete. Literally. They were like you would get, but there's 70,000 of them. And so I remember that because I ended up at a few Super Bowls in Tulane Stadium watching. Those were all supposed to be in the Superdome, folks. It was late. And the first Super Bowl in the Superdome was the Broncos-Cowboys Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl 12.
Greg Morton.
Yeah, Super Bowl 12, which was played on January the 10th.
Happy birthday. It's your birthday, right?
That's right. It was played on my birthday. To show you how much the schedule's backed up and backed up and backed up. Because now we're playing in February. And a lot of people think we should play. Is it next weekend? That's that is President's Day is on Monday.
Is that I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I don't know when that is. Yes, okay. So that makes a lot. So
there are a lot of people, Chris, who think that what we should do is play the Super Bowl on the Sunday before President's Day.
All right, I'm going to really show my ignorance here, and I apologize to everyone listening. President's Day is it the third Monday in February? How does that work, or is it always February? I mean, it's always a Monday.
Yeah, President's Day is always Monday.
So is it how do they do that? Is it the third Monday? Because remember, this is.
It must be the third Monday of February.
Okay, that must be it because we ended up the first Monday was the first this year.
I mean, I'll Google it real quick. I'm curious.
No. We're really not that important, but I was just kind of. So my point is that would be a different. Every week it would be a different time frame, is what I'm saying. It's kind of like it's a little different. So in other words, if the 28th ended up on Monday, then it would be the next week. Then it would be a little late. So the Super Bowl likes to be a little bit more like that
early February.
Yeah, I know. So it's like if President's Day floats, they don't want Super Bowl floating. Then it would be like, then they would have to move the schedule. But that is a really good idea. We need to, get
So
President's Day a little bit more solidified.
Washington's birthday is a federal holiday in the United States, celebrated on the third Monday of February in honor of George Washington, the first president of the United States, who was born on February the 22nd, 1732.
Right. I remember how they consolidated. I just didn't remember, a third. But that's going to make a little bit. But it's a good idea when it would work. It would be great.
Yeah. So it's always the third Monday. And there are a lot of people, and I think this does make sense. The NFL could do it because the NFL's king. They can do whatever they want. But if the NFL played the Super Bowl on the Sunday before President's Day, we would all sort of get our wish. We'd have this big holiday weekend that includes the biggest sports event in America on the calendar every single year. And everybody could have the federal holiday off to sort of recover and celebrate or mourn their team losing or whatnot. And then we'd all go back on Tuesday and hit the reset button. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
The NFL would have the political power to do it. No, that'll be good. So anyway, hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. And
let's talk about the game. I know we were going to get to some college stuff. I do want to get your thoughts on the game itself. The Chiefs are about a 3-point favorite over the Bucs. Chiefs have some injuries up front. Patrick Mahomes probably not fully healthy. Tampa probably a little healthier than they've been in a long time on the defensive side of the ball. Tampa has been running the ball effectively. Brady's been playing very good football for the Bucs. Obviously, there's a lot of storylines here. From just a football standpoint, what are you sort of looking for on Sunday?
Well, I think that the Bucs' chances, their only chance, is Brady will have to be the best quarterback Sunday. He'll have to play the best. He's the greatest of all time. That's not the issue. That doesn't matter what happened Sunday. He's going to have to play back. He's going to have to play better than he's played. I know it's great that he's there. He's played well in the playoffs, but he hadn't played great. He's probably going to have to play great. The Bucs are not. Bruce Arians is not going to sit there and run it. They're going to balance it. They've had some success running it, but they are a deep shot team. Steve Spagnuolo has done a great job against Tom Brady in his history, defense coordinator of the Chiefs in Kansas City, but also he was the defense coordinator with the Giants the 2 times that the Giants beat Brady in the Super Bowl. So those are things I think to look out for is there's going to be a lot of blitz pressure and a lot of talk about Kansas City's protection issues. But, the issue is going to be the Bucs. Can they hold up against a good Chiefs front? Because Brady can't go anywhere other than to step up. So if you muddy that pocket, you got problems. If the ball comes out quickly, that's a problem. Not that Brady is making mental mistakes, but the ability to recognize, for example, and I did a piece on LandryFootball.com. I go deep into the X's and O's. And one of the things I pointed out in breaking down the tape is like, okay, look at the blitz pickup problems that they had. Brady recognized it pre-snap, but Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones missed the pickup. They slide protection. Everybody does it right. The back misses, and it leads to one of those picks. It's not what Brady knows. Well, you're not going to fool Brady. It's not about fooling Brady. It's about fooling the other people that have to pick up what Brady's telling them to do. And that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, how well they're able to do it. Look, I think this Chiefs team is quite a bit better. And I think if they play their best game, I just don't really see the Bucs winning it. But that's the great thing about games, isn't it? You don't know. And the one thing I'll say about the Chiefs, they're good for TV because they're exciting for fans that maybe are fringe fans, and nobody blows a lead or, erases a deficit better than the Chiefs. So if they got a 17-point lead, they're likely going to allow the Bucs back in, by no design. And if they're down 17, they'll erase it really quickly. So it ought to have a chance to be really good. But I do think that there's a few keys here. I do think there's an issue without Eric Fisher at tackle, and I think there's some issues there. But remember, there's an ability to be able to scheme with a lot of misdirection, and the quarterback can run. So the whole key, if the Bucs are going to have success, it is not the pass rush in attacking the tackles and putting pressure on Mahomes. It's two things, and you got to do them both simultaneously. You've got to be able to hit Mahomes, and you've got to be able to play press coverage on the line of scrimmage, because the only difference, if you put pressure on Mahomes, the only thing that's going to matter, the ball is going to come out quicker. And they got all those little cheetahs running around. I call them cheetahs. All they do is they're going to make plays after the catch. So you've got to be able to jam Kelsey off the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to prevent a free release of Tyreek Hill, because if he escapes the release off the line of scrimmage, then you can be right in Mahomes' face, and he can dump it, and it's touchdown. It's 6. So you've got to do both, and they have to work simultaneously. If you don't, you can only keep them down so long. So the Bucs are gonna have to win the turnover margin. They're gonna have to find a way to create maybe a couple of extra possessions, and there's no other way to say it. Brady's gonna have to be great. The Bucs offense is gonna have to be great. They're gonna have to mix up the run, and I think it's great to be able to use clock, but you better score 7. You better score a touchdown. No threes. Field goal kicker need to be, you need to have an easy day kicking extra points, because I think you're going to have to match points with Kansas City. I don't expect it to be 45, 44. I think it might be a little bit more conservative, particularly early. But I think it's going to be a tough game for the Bucs to win. And look, the Bucs defense has played well, but they have not faced an offense like this. This offense, when gone, is really not something the only teams that have stopped them is when Kansas City's been missing pieces or just gone into a lull. No one's really stopped them. So you've got to make decisions defensively. You got to roll coverage to Hill, and you've got to me, I think you're going to see a lot of cover 7. I wrote on that. All right, that's going to be, you're going to have to allow them in too deep, and you're going to have to bracket Kelsey and Hill. And if that happens, you got to take your chances in covering Watkins. You got to take your chances covering Hardeman. And that's why if it's not one of those other guys, it's going to be one of those guys that are going to make a lot of mistakes. And, oh, by the way, they can throw to Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield. I mean, good luck. It's pick your poison. You better be on point. The Bucs have really good athletic linebackers, but they're all going to have to play well. They're all going to have to set the edge, because there's going to be a lot of misdirection eye candy there to try to get them out of position. It ought to be fun. It really should be, but it's tough to stop that Chiefs team for 4 quarters.
There had been talk, Chris, about rain in the forecast and how that might impact the game. The latest weather forecast for Sunday is scattered thunderstorms in the morning with lots of sunshine late, a high of 73. Winds west to northwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of rain 50% in Tampa. And then on Sunday night, mainly clear skies early, then a few clouds later on. Low around 55. Winds light and variable. So chance of rain on Sunday night, just 11%. So that's great news for the NFL. Should be perfect weather for a game between two iconic quarterbacks. One who is the current, in my opinion, GOAT, and the one who has the best chance of any person on the planet right now of one day supplanting him as the GOAT in Patrick Mahomes. So it should be a lot of fun. I think it's great that we get a kind of a sexy Super Bowl on a year where we deserve a sexy Super Bowl. And like you said, I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm going to light my grill. I'm going to put I'm going to get the sausage plate done. Then I'm going to
I wish I can get to Oxford, man. That sounds good.
I'm going to put that offset on there and deflect the heat, smoke some wings.
Sounds really good, man.
Doesn't matter to me who wins. I'm turning it into a party at the house. I'm going to get up on Sunday morning, Chris, so that I don't have like a nervous breakdown about it. I'm going to do the Jen Sherman 1 hour Super Bowl ride on my Peloton. Then I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to double it up so that I burn enough calories so that when I'm consuming the calories later in the day, I'm telling myself that it's like a math equation. It's all going to equal 0 at the end. So that's the plan anyway. So it should be.
You remind me of old friend, who, by the way, is partially retiring now, kind of a legend at LSU, Sam Nader.
Yeah.
Been there forever and ever. So we worked together a long time, and he doesn't do it so much anymore, but he had he used to laugh, and he had he called it, what did he call it? He says the most expensive ice cream habit. He said he'd spend like over a obscene amount of money per month. I mean, he'd eat ice cream by quantities that you wouldn't imagine. So he would always go. So we'd be in our on the Tuesday night. I don't know why you picked Tuesday, but
It's like Sam's a pretty lean guy, right?
well, he's older and he's a couple of hip replacements. So yeah, but so he would always say, "I got to run so I can eat my ice cream." I mean, when he would eat, like he'd eat. I mean, he might go through, what is it? Maybe a half gallon of a Bluebell, and he would do he would come on Tuesday nights and he'd just give us Dove bars while we were meeting and putting game plan in, and it would be nothing, for him to eat. Like, I don't know, I'm sure they still make them, the Dove bars on a stick that were kind of big, and
Oh yeah.
he just down about 3 of them. He just, and he didn't have it was the high butterfat content type. So he would do his run and all that. And, but anyway, so it reminds me of him to use. So he'd run. So you're going to be doing your Peloton so that you can eat all that. I get that.
Yeah. And then I'll double down. See, because I know I'm on a 60-minute Peloton ride, I'm going to burn about 800 calories. So that's probably not enough. So I've got to add something to that, so that,
yeah.
That was the great thing about back in the day when I was running marathons back in the day, Chris, when you do the big Sunday runs, where you had like a 16-mile training run.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that, but go ahead, tell me. I can envision it.
The one thing that always would comfort me, I'd be 12, 13 miles into a run, and I'd start telling myself, all right, so you're approaching 2,000 calories right now. When this is over, you will have burned about 3,000 calories. Just think of all the stuff you're going to get to eat guilt-free. So that would be what would kind of comfort you as you pounded out those last 4 or 5 miles on a training run. All right, one last thing on the Super Bowl. Woodshed King asked a football-specific question. Then we're going to get to some of the college topics we want to get to today. He says, Chris, what type of pass rush would you use against Kansas City?
A mush rush. So you want to be able to rush from the outside to the heels of the tackle. So basically, what you want to do is prevent the escape lanes. You don't want allow him to be able to. You got to set the edge. You've got to rush to the heels of the tackle, and you've got to be able to hit him. You got to hit him from there. But if you run a lot of loops and stunts and you give him releases outside, that just creates play extensions that you can do everything right. In fact, I did, again, another X's and O series on the website to where you look at Tampa in the first game against Kansas City. Let's remind folks these two teams played this year. And the Bucs did everything right defensively in a lot of cases, and it still led to a pretty big play. So what you've got to be able to do is you've got to be able to, again, do two things. It's not just the pass rush. It's the press coverage off the line of scrimmage. So when you put pressure, he's going to get more uncomfortable in the pocket. He's much more comfortable outside the pocket, creating and extending and throwing across and doing all that. So you've got to rush the pocket. You've got to collapse that up the middle, and outside you've got to force him in, prevent the escape lanes. And at the same time, that won't be good enough because he can dump it over that. At the same time, you got to take away the release valve. Folks, you don't have to worry, you don't have to worry about deep if you get the pressure there, but you've got to prevent short. And so that combination is the key. Those two things, you got to do that. And I think you have to do it. I think you got to mix up some of your rush looks. I think you can run some twists, but they have to be perfectly timed. So you can have a tackle in twist, for example, TXE, but it's got to work well where you don't have any gaps in it, because then that gives an escape lane. And look, he's going to be a little bit healthier. Mahomes can be and will be, if needed, a bigger factor running it. I mean, normally he runs to throw, but he can run to run, and to keep a play or a series alive, he'll run. And we've seen this, like in the playoffs last year. Remember, right before the half, it seems like they were kind of who was it against? It was against Houston, I believe. They were it looked like they were going to try to maybe get in field goal range, maybe. And he just going out of bounds, and he plants his left foot, makes a move, and all of a sudden it's a 55-yard touchdown run. Those are the type of things that can all of a sudden you say, whoa, it's great. Andy does a great job, and Eric Bieniemy does a great job with putting these guys in position. But, man, sometimes they just, improvise and and do things that are just even better.
Yeah, elite athletes on that team, great coaching. They're I mean, if they win Sunday, it's the beginning of you start talking about dynasty at some point.
Let me just tell you real quick. You mentioned great coaching. Andy Reid is one of the brightest guys I've ever been around in all my years of football. I think people know kind of background with Belichick and Saban. Andy Reid is that next level good as an offensive mind. He's as good as anybody. I got to know, particularly later in his career, Coach Bill Walsh, and did a lot of work on his workout at Stanford in the seminars that he put together for the league. Andy Reid is brilliant. I mean, he is next level, and probably with a few more pieces would have won at least one Super Bowl in Philadelphia. And he's on a little bit of a stretch right now that I think's really, it's starting to get him the credit that he deserves. He is so good. And look at that coaching tree. He is now, all of those guys are successful. So you wonder how people look at it two ways. The Belichick coaching tree, not many of those guys are successful when they leave him. So people say, well, that makes Bill better because it's more him. Andy Reid's all of his guys that he trains, they seemingly all become successful. We don't have enough time to list all of them. It's almost entering Frank Broyles level good. I mean, just all the guys that have been around him. And so it's interesting. Somebody asked it real quick yesterday because Tony Romo mentioned this, that he made a comment, and it's kind of a weird comment. I'm curious to see what you and our listeners think, particularly in our chat room. And I never really thought of it this way. But Tony Romo said that this would be the most important game in Patrick Mahomes' career in terms of his legacy. His theory is if Brady wins, it probably puts him in a stratosphere where no one is going to win as many Super Bowls as a starting quarterback as Brady. I mean, regardless how good you are. But if Mahomes wins, he gets two, and he prevents Brady from getting another. And you look at the amount of time that Mahomes has left, we can speculate, but maybe it gives a little bit of a possibility that Mahomes could be, that takes so many years, so much longevity. I never even went there in my mind, but I thought I got asked that yesterday on a show, but I thought that was interesting. But I do think if Brady were to win it, that'd be virtually impossible to be around long enough to do everything and to have everything fall into place. It's going to be real interesting.
It'd make Tom Brady 7-3 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
In Super Bowls.
No, I know. I'm trying.
You start talking about the greatest player ever to play a team sport, and you're talking about Brady. You're talking about Michael Jordan. You're talking about LeBron James, Wayne Gretzky, I suppose. I mean, it's a very small group of human beings. And I mean, even if he loses on Sunday, 6-4 in 10 Super Bowls is a remarkable accomplishment.
But think about this: the next best is half that, 5. I mean, you look at, in LA. Well, you look at Montana. Montana, it's now 4-0.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, well, they got to one of them." Well, yeah, you start getting at 10, getting to 10. Yeah, that's and Elway was the 3-time loser, can't win the big one, and then you win a couple with a good running game, better team around them. Hey, go figure. That's how that stuff works. Now, put that in perspective. When you say somebody went to 4 Super Bowls as a starting quarterback, 5 now, wow, and Brady's got 10.
It's unbelievable. It's a remarkable accomplishment. It's frankly, it's one that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. You think about how many great quarterbacks in the history of the game only got to 1 Super Bowl. Dan Marino only played in 1 Super Bowl.
I think
You know what I mean? I mean,
Let me check. I think the guy that's been to the most Super Bowls of in any capacity is Dan Reeves. I think he's been to 11. I'd have to check. Assistant coach with Tom Landry, Broncos Super Bowls, went there with the Falcons. I believe it's 11. But that's a coach, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
A player. You don't play long enough to go to 5 Super Bowls. You don't. You don't have things going your way to do that.
Yeah,
10?
He's a remarkable
10?
He's a remarkable specimen. The guy is 3 years old, and he looks 23. It's remarkable. He like Oklahoma Rebel says, he elevates the guys around him. He
does. And look, let's call it what it is too. The Patriots are really good. Patriots had, everything that was handled very well to allow him to be successful. And he picked the Bucs with a really good roster. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's great. He deserves all of that. If he had gone to the Detroit Lions to, play for Matt Patricia this year, maybe they're better and maybe Matt Patricia still has his job. They're not in the Super Bowl. Okay. So he elevates everybody.
Yep.
That is correct. But he's elevating a very talented team. That's the missing piece. And I think that's saying a lot of what he means to it, but it's also part of he's had some success. It always is. It's the ultimate team game. You get so many players and so many interchanging parts.
All right, we're going to switch to some college topics. First, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by Blue Sky. Blue Sky believes in being fast, fresh, and friendly. Through the thoughtful layout and cleanliness of their stores, Blue Sky hopes to provide customers with a fast and easy buying experience. From services to products, Blue Sky plans to keep things fresh, always provide the freshest flavors of the brand name products and the best services available. They even bring in some of the newest products on the market to their stores to provide an even better customer experience. A smile can say it all, and at Blue Sky, they want to show their customers that they care about them and their shopping experience. They'll always strive to improve their efforts to accomplish exactly that. So check out any of the 48 Blue Sky locations across the Southeast today. And we're brought to you by Alpha Specialties. Alpha Specialties located at 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi, right there in the Jackson area. It's your trailer-specific professional. Alpha's the premium trailer dealership in Mississippi. They've got Load Trail, the premium brand trailer, the highest quality utility equipment, dump, and gooseneck trailers being built today. Fully primed and powder-coated, Load Trail trailers come with an industry-leading 3-year warranty and 2 years of roadside assistance. Alpha Specialties also has Hallmark cargo trailers. It's one of the most quality cargo trailers on the market today, perfect for hauling goods to markets and shows, ATVs to deer camps, hauling race cars, and more. Alpha can even work with third parties to have game day trailers and concession trailers built. For podcast listeners, Alpha has spare tires and wheels starting at just $100. Full selection of trailer parts and accessories, hitches, winches, straps, and more. They can do all types of truck accessories. Listeners also get 10% off a yearly trailer service and inspection at Alpha's full service shop. They can repair all types of trailers, concession, horse, utility, enclosed, gooseneck, RV, and more. So give them a call at 601-932-9798 or check them out at alphaofms.com. Make sure you tell them that you heard about Alpha on SEC Football and Beyond or any of the MPW digital network of podcasts. All right, Chris, got a lot of things to get to. I do want to touch recruiting real fast. National Signing Day's come and gone. Pulling up the Rivals rankings since I work for Rivals. I feel like that's probably the ranking I should use. Alabama, number 1 in the country. Again, a lot of people say it's historically, from a ratings standpoint, the best recruiting class ever. Obviously, time will tell. But from a pure numbers standpoint, based on rankings, they say this is the best class anyone has ever put together. Alabama's 1. Texas A&M is 3. Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies closed really strong. LSU is 5th. Georgia 6th. Florida 11th. Let's see. Tennessee 17. Ole Miss 18. Mississippi State 23. Arkansas 25. Auburn at 33, Kentucky tied with Auburn at 33, Vanderbilt at 35. One of Clark Lee steps in and does a really nice job with his first class there at Vanderbilt. I'm looking to see if I'm missing anybody SEC wise.
Auburn struggled, as you might expect.
South Carolina 78. That's the
South Carolina really struggled too. New coaches, we talked about that. First year. I mean, it's not really your first year, just scrambling. Thought Missouri did some good things. Arkansas Raleigh did pretty good job. A couple of things on rankings, and I know it's fun and folks, look, very simple in college football. You want to say I can tell you who the best recruiting classes are going to be in the country for 2025 right now. I just tell you, and I can tell you who's going to be, and it's the same people. So it's kind of that. Let me say this. I would agree that this Alabama class looks legendary. It's the best looking offensive line group. I don't go necessarily though, but so Neil, you know this. They had 27. So Alabama doesn't recruit any players that are not elite, but they're 27 in this group, how they're going to manage their roster. If they had 20, the class would be just as good, but it wouldn't be ranked as high because there'd be 7 less players. Well, that's 7 less 4 or 5 stars, but the reason why it's better than, quote unquote, some of the other Alabama classes is because they got more numbers. There are more spots available, so it's just
right.
So and you're right. We're going to see now Alabama doesn't have a transfer portal problem, okay? But most of these classes, how many of these classes these players are going to be there? Heck, a year from now, 2 years from now, that's going to be key. Who transfers in? How do you affect? Remember, this is now college free agency, and all recruiting is the only way in which you procure talent for your college program. Well, now you get it, somewhat in the transfer portal, so you have to factor all of that in. But no secret, no news story here. Alabama has done, under Saban, the best job of recruiting and the best job of developing, and that's why they've won a ridiculous amount of titles. Other teams have done a really good job. I don't know that the quality of, say, Clemson is much different, but we only got 19 guys. I mean, you're not going to be ranked this high. Georgia's got 20, really, really good. So a good group. Couple of things that maybe are not so obvious. I think A&M may have had the best defensive line class they've ever had, and maybe the best defensive line class in the country. That's huge. Okay, you'll win it. By the way, A&M got a verbal commitment yesterday from Connor Wigman, a really good dual threat 4-star quarterback in the 2022 class. LSU's good. Where are they headed? We don't know. Georgia is a machine in its own right. Florida did a nice job, not where Georgia is recruiting wise. Really good. Look, if you take Alabama and Saban out of the equation, college football is a lot more interesting. What I mean by that is it's less predictable, not more, it's less predictable. Because, I mean, you could throw a few teams in there. Now it's like, can anybody beat Bama? That's the narrative. Well, it's kind of difficult. Sure. Loaded class. And they've got a couple of other situations.
Jeffrey Parrott wants you to, and this might be something we come back and do next week when you have a little sit down and do it. So we'll put a bookmark on this one. This will be Jeffrey. This is something we'll do. We'll touch on this next week. We'll break,
but overall,
the 27th
offensive line class. The thing I love the best about it, you said that class, the 17. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's an unfair because at the time, probably this one. But you look at 17, what they're able to develop. So the thing we don't know is, let's say 2 of these guys have some personal issues or another 2 have injuries. Well, this class won't look as good. That's why the ranking of it and the overall production, when nobody does the best job of meshing both in Alabama. But this class, the offensive line's better. What makes this a little bit better is the overall numbers. So they got more of them. So they're going to have more potential players that can have impact because they got more numbers. They filled some needs in the secondary. They got some receivers at a spot that they needed. And the offensive line, as I said, just loaded. So I would say, on the surface, this one, because of the overall numbers being more. And by the way, they've got another possibility to add here down the road. We'll see. Anyway.
Auburn just added a player to its class, Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Mississippi, just signed with Auburn, which was expected. He went ahead and did that today, so you can add him to Auburn's class.
And Vanderbilt, I know we had a Vanderbilt question there. I know the Patrick Smith kid signed too.
I think the question was, what do you think about the job that Clark Lee has done at Vanderbilt in terms of putting together a staff?
Pretty solid staff. You got to remember, I mean, you're not going to go and get experienced guys. You're going to have to get young guys that are really, really bright, up and comers, and I think they've done a pretty good job with that. I'm not surprised. It's not like, oh boy, I'm surprised he's done it. I think he's done about what I thought. Still not complete, but I think like some of the support stuff that they're doing is pretty good too. Looks like they're giving him a little bit more leeway, a little bit more aggressive to say, go out and, hey, run it like, somewhat like other people run a college football program. That's what they need to do. He is just so Vanderbilt, meaning he's so into Vanderbilt. And I don't mean that to say, well, of course he is. He's just, he's got Vanderbilt in his blood more than most people do. Most people would tell you how great it is, but, there's a chance there that if they do right by this guy, he's a guy that would stay longer than most would stay at Vanderbilt because of who he is. I just don't know that he would. I think eventually he'd get frustrated and he'd pick up and leave, or he wouldn't get enough help and he'd get run out. But, we mentioned Barton Simmons. Well, Barton Simmons is more of a clerical guy. He's not an evaluator. He's a guy that's going to keep track of the transfer portal and organize all the computer stuff. That's really, really valuable. They hired a couple of key guys in the recruiting office that have a little bit more football and coaching background that can evaluate players. So, yeah, he's more just like a clerical administrative type guy. And, I think that's fine. That's fine. Most people get a little bit more guys with a little bit more football background, but I think he'll do a nice job in that role.
All right, so we talked about Vanderbilt. We'll talk a little bit about Tennessee. Josh Heupel leaves UCF. We'll talk about UCF in a minute, too, a little bit, because I don't think either one of us know a whole lot about it. But we'll talk about Tennessee. Heupel still putting together his staff. I know you've had some questions about the defensive coordinator there in Knoxville. What do you hear?
Yeah, obviously Brian Brown of Louisville is somebody they made a run at. He's going to stay with Scott Satterfield. I know they were interested in Todd Orlando. I think he's going to stay over there at USC. The guy to keep an eye out on is Matt House. He's the linebacker coach of the Chiefs. Folks remember Matt. Matt was the defensive coordinator at Kentucky, did a really good job there. He spent time at Miami. He did a really good job at Pitt. He was on that staff when Aaron Donald was there. So he's got he was at Buffalo as defensive coordinator. So Matt's decision is this. And why is he potentially a good fit? Well, he's a good fit potentially for Tennessee. Remember, if you're going to run the type of offense that they're going to run there at Tennessee with Josh, it's going to be, up and down the field, up tempo. The defense is on the field. His defense was on the field more at Central Florida than any defense in all of college football. Okay, I mean, they put them in. So, what do they do in Kansas City? They're an explosive offense. Steve Spagnuolo, aggressive. It's about personnel, folks. But understanding that if you're going to take that coordinator job at Tennessee, your job's going to be to hold on an opponent to 38 or 40 points while your offense scores 45. That's kind of going to be the way it's going to be done. So the folks that are, hearkening to the General Neyland days where they could, keep an opponent unbeaten, untied, and unscored upon. Those are long gone in football today. It is completely gone. I think he makes a lot of sense. I just don't know if you're Matt. He's not on the verge of getting a defense coordinator job in the NFL, but I think he's got a good future. So where does he want to go with it? But that's the guy that, and obviously they'll be able to. I think they'll be able to get that done. If they're going to get it done, they're going to know by Monday or Tuesday. Look, it's not easy on top of everything else that Tennessee's dealing with. The timing's not real good. So what you're having to do is you're having to get somebody late. And some people that might have been interested in it a month ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, might feel a little queasy about leaving where they are now this late. But you could still find some. They'll find somebody, obviously, but we'll see what Matt does. But remember the name Matt House, and we'll see if he can get that done.
All right. You mentioned doing something late. UCF put together a pretty solid recruiting class. They don't have a head coach. They have an interim head coach in Randy Shannon, and there is some pressure there in Orlando, according to my sources, to promote him to the full-time gig. There's also talk there about Gus Malzahn. There's talk there about Gene Chizik. There's talk about Tom Herman. There's talk about Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. I can tell you there's real concern in Oxford, in the Ole Miss, in the football building, that Jeff Lebby is a very real candidate at UCF. I know you're like me. You don't know a lot about what's happening there. So I'm going to do this more of a discussion. If you're UCF right now, what are you thinking about doing?
Well, the profile of what's been successful, and I know that Josh wasn't nearly successful as Scott Frost, but he did a nice job. The profile would be Jeff Lebby. Bright, young offensive mind who's a coordinator, come in. That's what we do. That's what's our identity. Gus, I want to make sure I like Gus a lot. It kind of, it doesn't irritate me, but it amazes me how people either are unaware or just don't understand football. The whole Gus is an offensive genius talk. Gus, the offense at Auburn was the reason why they were relevant and good when they had been good is due to the defense. The offense, when you didn't have Nick Marshall or particularly Cam Newton, is not very good. I don't think that would be really good. I don't think that Tom Herman, that is what they're looking at. I love Gene. I don't think that's a real good thing. Look, it's an intriguing job for some of those older guys because who wouldn't want to go to Orlando? You got grandkids that, hey, you can come visit us and you can go see Mickey every time you want. Jeff Lebby makes a lot of sense. There is some benefit for Randy Shannon, but if they're going to do what they've done in the past, Jeff Lebby fits the profile. I'm not hearing that, it's definitely Lebby. It's definitely – I'm not hearing any of that. I just would be surprised if it's Gus. I would be surprised if it's Gene. I would be surprised if it's Tom Herman. I think if I had to guess, it would probably be like Randy or Lebby. And I, obviously if you're Jeff Lebby, you got to take that job. That is one hell of a job now. And that's the thing too. You got to, it's a job that maybe if you throw everything into the mix, it may be the best Group of 5 job. There are other jobs that are really good, but you're in Florida, they've got good support, and they really kind of see themselves as Power 5-ish. And so you got all of that. You got resources, but it's, by example, it's maybe got a little bit extra because it's Florida, it's Orlando, as opposed to say like a Houston, which has great resources. And you're kind of, you're in a pretty good situation there, and you can get some good players that just, everybody that goes into Florida, there's just still a whole bunch of players there that you can really sell that.
Yeah. I don't know what I think is going to happen there. I agree with you. I think it's going to be Shannon or Lebby. I think I'd bet on Shannon today, but not with much. It wouldn't be like a strong bet. It wouldn't be like that deal where you're just racing to the casino to put your money down on it.
And Tony, by the way, says on all those coaches except Lebby too expensive. No,
not at all.
Gus is making all of his money. That's why Gus is a candidate, and I don't think he's a good candidate because Gus can make fraction. They could pay him like pennies on the dollar.
Yep.
Because remember, it's offset. I mean, he gets all that money. I mean, it's not offset. He gets all that money.
That's right. That's right.
No, so basically, he's getting paid by Auburn to coach at Central Florida, and Central Florida could pay him. They could pay him $1 million. They could pay. I mean, I don't think they do that, but they could pay him $500,000, and he'd be one of the richest. Tom Herman, no offset. I mean, you just got those guys are the reasons why they're candidates. Gene Chiswick's not going to get that much money. He's out of coaching, So
what's be interesting with Levy at Ole Miss, Chris, is a couple of things. One that's concrete and one that's sort of nebulous out there. The concrete is he just agreed to a new deal at Ole Miss. It's a 2-year deal. I think Ole Miss probably would have been wise to make it a 3-year deal, but they didn't. They made it a 2-year deal. It's worth, I think, 1.2 a year. It might be 1.3, but it's in that range. And so there's buyout in it. Now he would go. What's interesting with Levy is if you believe that Ole Miss is going to have a really strong season next year, and I tend to, if you believe that the schedule shapes up for them in a way that they can create momentum and have a really strong season, and I do believe those two things. Let's say there's a scenario where Ole Miss goes 9-3, is dynamic on offense. Look at the schedule, 9-3. It's ambitious, but it's not unrealistic at all, given their schedule. If you told me that happened, and Lane Kiffin likes to flirt with jobs, a job opened up that Lane Kiffin flirted with and he took, in that environment, Jeff Lebby would, I'm not saying he would definitely get the Ole Miss job, but Chris, he'd be a leading candidate in that environment. So it's something that I think probably resonates in the back of his mind. But at the end of the day, I think if UCF offers him the head coaching job, he takes it because it's bird in hand kind of a thing.
And I think timing's everything, but I think he's more attractive let's say getting the Ole Miss job is something that he would like. I'd say that his chances would be good, but it would be a slam dunk if he went to Central Florida. Because you go to Central Florida, you're going to win. Now, are you going to leave after 1 year and Lane? That's a little bit iffy. I don't know. But he goes to Central Florida, he's going to win. He did a good job. You come back home. And, oh, by the way, for the people that say, oh, we want a head coach, well, you got a head coach. He's done a nice job at Central Florida. You know what I mean? I think it cements him there. The only thing would be is if Lane leaves after next year, does he leave Central Florida after 1 year and come back? I mean, he could. It's just a little bit of it's a little bit of an issue. I mean, I think I think he's all in on getting that. I mean, I think he's all in if he gets offered, and I think for his future. I just don't know enough of what Central Florida is going to do. I don't think they'll need to go. Let me put it to you this way. It's maybe the wrong way, but below Jeff Lebby. I mean, I think they've got good people. I think, and I don't think below. Personally, if I was Central Florida and I had the choice, Gus Malzahn, Tom Herman, I'd hire Jeff Lebby. I just think that the other guys are more towards another. I just think Gus is not going to be as successful there, and I don't. Tom Herman scares me a little bit, and you wonder a little bit about the motivation. I think Jeff Lebby would be a really good fit for them. I do. I think they need to be careful about maybe trying to go for a name guy. Oh, because Gus Malzahn beat Nick Saban 3 times. This is great. That's the way maybe a lot of the media and the fans think. It's football people. I think you see things a little differently. I wouldn't go there.
Speaking of Ole Miss, I know that they signed Tywan Malone on Wednesday afternoon. I know you're high on him, the defensive lineman out of New Jersey. What do you see with him?
No, I think he's a really good talent. He's 6'4", 230. He's. I mean, what's this baseball stuff, man? Apparently,
I think you got your numbers messed up. He's bigger than 230. He's more like.
No. What did I say? I'm 300. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. What? I don't know what I'm thinking. No, he's a 300-pound guy. Now, in fact, that's what I was about to say. I'm thinking about what's the baseball thing. In fact, that was my whole point. What's the hell the deal? I haven't seen him play bit. What's the hell with the 300-pounder playing baseball? Give me that.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be a baseball expert here.
No, but I mean, 300 pounds. That's unusual. That says a lot about his football athletic ability right there, without even watching him, which I have.
Well, so what you think when you hear that just blindly is you hear 300-pound kid defensive lineman that's also a good baseball player, and what you think is, well, okay, he must play at a kind of a low level high school deal, and he can turn on a 75-mile-an-hour fastball and hit it 8,000 feet. It's more than that. He's got remarkably good feet at first base for a kid that size. And I anticipated when I first looked at his baseball film, if you will, that you'd see this big, long swing. Again, catching slow high school stuff. And, I mean, obviously he's a big, strong kid, and I anticipated a lot of power. It's quicker to the ball than you think. I mean, he's quicker with his hands, quicker with his feet. We'll see. I mean, look, this because you're there in Baton Rouge, which is a home to one of the most prestigious baseball programs in the country. To play at the SEC level when you're playing against LSU.
Oh yeah, but I'm just impressed that he's playing at Bergen Catholic and playing high school at that level where people like his baseball ability. So here's what it tells me: if he's got the ability with a quick string, that tells me that he can shoot his hands. And when I watch him on tape, I see him shoot his hands up. So he's every bit looking, 300. Well, he looks like a slim 300 to me, because he's well proportioned, but he's really quick off the ball, and he's a power push guy. I think he's a really good get. I mean, I know that Chiano liked him, but there wasn't much of a chance, and it was Florida State and A&M. And that's and that's good for Ole Miss to get him. He kind of leads the way of impressive guys, and maybe we'll get a little more time once we get the Super Bowl out of the way. But we'll go through some of the classes, and if folks want to, we'll go a little bit scouting reports. I've looked at quite a number of these guys. They're going to be really, really impressive.
I used Lane Kiffin to get a segue to this final topic of the day, and we won't touch on this much. We'll get into this a lot next week because football will be done, and we'll start to look ahead to the 2021 season. I thought it was interesting on Wednesday. A lot of the different coaches, including Lane Kiffin, had press conferences or conference calls, Zoom calls, whatever, with reporters. There was more optimism. Nick Saban, Josh Heupel, Harsin at Auburn. I'm trying to think. Kirby Smart at Georgia, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. There was more optimism about a regular-ish spring than I've heard in a long time. I mean, really, even just from 2 or 3 weeks ago, some of those same people asked those same questions, had really different answers than they had on Wednesday. There seemed to be a much calmer, non-hyperbolic, they weren't even trying to sell you on it. Just, I'm kind of optimistic that spring's going to be normalish. Heard Kirby Smart say that. I heard Lane Kiffin say that. I heard Nick Saban say that. Sam Pittman said something similar at Arkansas, that there's an optimism that's beginning to abound a little bit, that this is going to be quasi-normal in the spring.
We got a lot of time. In fact, I'm trying to think what coach. It's not a Power 5 school. What coach them? I need to look it up. They're already in spring.
Yeah.
Who I can't remember who it was. We could have folks maybe have spring in May. Yeah. I think there'll be different ways to do it. I'm a little bit. I know people don't care and all that, and that's fine. I do, because I'm a football guy. I'm worried about California. I'm worried about how we're going to get spring in California. There is some talk, and maybe I think some of the schools will look at maybe having spring practice late, and maybe because Pac-12 has a lot of. They're in the semester system, the quarter system. So maybe they can go to Arizona for, because this is 15 practice, maybe go like a little training camp for spring. I mean, it may have to. I don't know what we're doing. I'm dealing with that right now because I'm dealing with, we don't have the combine. We're going to have pro days, but I don't even know if we're going to have pro days in any of the Pac-12 schools. So we're trying to figure out, can we get some of the kids in the Pac-12 to Dallas or somewhere and have like a couple of Pac-12 pro days if you can't do one. I know Stanford, doesn't look like Stanford's going to, I don't think they're having any spring practice at Stanford. Now, again, maybe May is better. But yeah, so I'm worried a little bit about that. And again, I know people are fans and they don't care about. I care about all of football. I just think that I think it's more optimistic. Look, I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm less on anybody out, but you would think as you're getting more of the inoculations and that we're getting towards the path to where we're going to be able to, I hope, at least shooting for some sense of normalcy from a football standpoint, practicing in the summer, getting ready for the fall, for the fall season. And I don't know if that means fans a lot or not, but I think we'll do it. I don't know how many spring games we'll have, because I don't know that they're going to want 75,000 fans for the A game, at Alabama. Maybe they won't do it, but who cares? That's they care. They want to be there. I got asked that on Alabama. Well, are we going to be able to go to the A game? And I didn't want to break anybody's heart and say, really, it doesn't matter. It matters to you. I get it. But all things considered, we can do without you being able to attend your team's spring game this year. And maybe we won't have games this year. But yeah, I think we're seeing a positive end. So I just am going to be so relieved to be able to talk about the games and not whether we have the games or not, which was, quite frankly, kind of stressful for me. But as I said and tell everybody in football, the people that are really stressed are the healthcare workers and people that are really affected by this. We don't have any real problems, and I'm just grateful that we have it. And let's move on and let's get to, hey, real quick, talk to Will Muschamp.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're running time. Talk to Will Muschamp. Will, it made it official. Everybody was kind of expecting him to be at Georgia. So everybody's hitting with, why wouldn't he be coordinator here or there? Folks, Will's son is at Georgia. So Will's decisions were, do I go maybe be a coordinator somewhere, or do I just take a year off and be with the family? The analyst job, I always felt, we talked about it a few times, this was the perfect job for this year because it's kind of in the middle, right? He can be in football. He can be an analyst. He can't work on field. His son's there. He can spend more time with his family, and it's new money. He can make money on top of, so, whatever Kirby and them want to pay, it's the Alabama system, right? You can pay that guy $30,000 because he's making gobs of money from South Carolina in this case. So it's a way to be around his kid that's there. It's to be around a good friend, and he can really help in an advisory role. And yet he doesn't have to put in the time he's going to have to put in that he would be as if he was a coordinator somewhere. So it's not like breaking news, but people have asked me, why wouldn't he do that? Why can't? Because all this talk about, do you think he's going to go to Auburn? You think he's going to go to Texas? You think he's going to go to – no. It was never that, and it was always about, making the right fit. And I think this has been in play in a while, but it's been official. So just wanted to send that out for our Georgia fans there.
Yeah, one of my favorite people in college football is Will Muschamp. Known him a long time and great guy. I think it's a smart decision on his part. He can count his money for a little while and be around his family and hit the refresh button and recharge the batteries and all those other cliches and sort of survey the field a little bit over the course of the next 12 months and figure out what he wants to do moving forward.
Hey, I know we got on the way out. Tell us what's going on your website. What's the big things going on? Because that's a great place to visit there, and we encourage everybody to do it. Give an update what's going on.
Well, we got a lot of coverage on Tywan Malone, his decision to go to Ole Miss. Got Ole Miss basketball tomorrow. We didn't even touch SEC basketball. Ole Miss and Auburn tomorrow on the Plains in Auburn. I got Neil's picks up, the final pick of the year, which I basically used as a way to brag that I won for the second straight year. So that's there. We've got a lot of podcasts up over the course of the last couple of days. So there's a lot of content there at rebelgrove.com.
Tennessee, Kentucky basketball tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Who wins it?
Where's the game? Lexington?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know. So you got
I'm gonna bet on
Kentucky, that's a big struggle, but Tennessee's doing a little bit of a Kentucky imitation right now.
Well, Tennessee is they're probably the reason they lost at Ole Miss on Tuesday night is Tennessee can get into this bogged down deal where they have a hard time scoring too. And when you play a good defensive team, and Ole Miss's record doesn't indicate it because they struggle to really, really struggle to score. But Ole Miss is a borderline elite defensive team, and they can get you. Kentucky's going to score. Tennessee's going to have to turn it up on the offensive end to keep up with the Cats. The Cats have some issues of their own. Obviously, this is Calipari's worst team. It's not going to be a tournament team, and he's got to figure out whether maybe he's done this one and done NBA philosophy. Has he taken this too far, or is this just an anomaly? So a lot of things we can get to.
I want to get into that in the future here and talk about that, because that's an interesting philosophy, because I know that Krzyzewski's kind of been frustrated with because he kind of went to the one and done, but nobody's done one and done like Calipari, and this is just didn't quite work. We'll get into that. Hey, check out LandryFootball.com, folks, if you please. You got a lot of shows up on the Twitch channel, a lot of podcasts like this one that we put up, all the breakdowns of the Super Bowl, recruiting evaluations. Of course, folks, we're hitting it hard. Obviously, free agency. The new league year is going to be right around the corner. Free agency, NFL draft stuff. We've got it all. So check out LandryFootball.com. Our scouting season off. You want to take advantage of that.
So enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Super Bowl 55 on Sunday night, 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. The Bucks, the Chiefs. We'll talk about it on Tuesday, and we'll talk about getting ready. We'll start kind of episode 1, if you will, of getting ready for the 2021 college football season and all the things that lead up to that. For Chris Landry, I'm Neil McCready. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Tuesday. Take care.